Welcome back. In today's video, we'll be going through some fundamental functions in Excel that are really useful in the workplace. Countifs, if, and or. For the basic introduction to functions, you can click on the link in the description. We have here a list of simplified medication delivery schedules with the customer name, items they ordered, quantity they ordered, order date, date of delivery, planned delivery time, and actual delivery time. Assume that this list is extremely long and I've only taken the first 8 rows out for simplicity's sake. The problems we need to solve today are if there are any planned delivery dates or times which clash with other planned deliveries, we need to know where they are and deconflict. If they clash with the public holidays, we also need to deconflict those. Or if these planned deliveries are outside of the delivery personnel's working hours, we need to deconflict those as well. So firstly, to figure out whether there are any deliveries which clash with each other, we can do it via a number of methods. So firstly, you can do it via conditional formatting and format only the unique or duplicate values. So what we can do is go to Home, Conditional Formatting, new rule, and only cells that contain over here, format only unique or duplicate values. Then you can change the format here and they will pick up the values which are duplicates within those cells that you've selected. But the problem with this is that it only considers one column, meaning each cell, and does not consider both date and time. So we could create another column to combine both date and time before using conditional formatting, or we can also use formulas within conditional formatting, as for example over here I've actually created a formula. So if you use a formula to determine which cells to format, you can format it using this formula below. If I1 is duplicate, you want the formula to return true. If not, you return false. And if it's true, you want the cell to be colored using this color here. Okay. And you want it to apply to whichever columns that you want highlighted. So for now, it's F and G. But for this to work, you need this column to show duplicates, right? So how do you actually get this column to show duplicates if there are any duplicates? So how we structure it is using an if function and a countif function. We look at a big if function first. So it is encapsulated by this open bracket, close bracket, and it takes 3 arguments: the logical test, the value if it's true, and value if it's false. Okay, value if it's true, duplicate; value if it's false, we want a blank. Okay, for the test itself, we want it to return true or false. Okay, so what this countif function does for us is it counts the number of rows that has the same value as this red cell and this green cell. So whichever row that has both the date and time exactly the same as these two values, we want it to be counted. Then as we go down the rows, the red and green values will shift down the rows as well. Okay. So how this countif function is structured is it first takes the first criteria range, then you give it the criteria. Then you take the second criteria range and then you give it the second criteria. Okay, so first criteria range is column F. The criteria is whatever is in this particular column that is in the same row as this, and the same for column G as well. Okay. So for those that do not have a duplicate, you can see an example here. Countifs, this 44395 actually corresponds to 18 July. And G9 corresponds to this 0.6667, which is 4 p.m. Okay, so the number of rows that has both of these exactly the same is only one. One is not more than one, so it's false. So if false, we want to give it as a blank, and hence it's blank. For those where there is a duplicate, F8 44392 corresponds to 15 July, G8 0.625 corresponds to 3 p.m. The number of rows that has this particular combination is 2. So we have 2 here. 2 is more than 1, hence it's true, hence we'll put a duplicate in this cell. Right, now we're done with the duplicates, and now we're looking at whether the delivery date clashes with any public holidays. For simplicity's sake, I've only chosen 2 public holidays. So we want this column to show 1 if there's a clash, and 0 if there are no clashes. We can use this formula over here with the OR function. So how the OR function works is it will look at the various tests within it, separated by the comma sign. So if this is any of it is true, the entire OR function will become true. I repeat, if any of it is true, the OR function will become true. And likewise, if this is true, and then 1 will be shown. If it's false, 0 will be shown. Which means what this function is doing is, if there are any clashes, if any of this date is equals to this date equals to this date, any of it is true, this should show as 1. So that's how the OR function works. The AND function would just be the reverse. If this is A and D, then all of these arguments needs to be true before the AND function is true. Any of this is false, it will become false. Okay? So now that you have a basic grasp of this, let's try something a bit more challenging. We want to know whether there are any inappropriate planned delivery date and times. Okay? Not taking into account duplicates and public holidays, we are just looking at the delivery hours here. So we know that the delivery hours are as such: Mondays to Fridays 9 to 5, Saturdays are only 9 to 1. Okay? We want to see whether there are any inappropriate deliveries. Okay? So how we structure this is we check whether there are any Sunday deliveries. So how do we know if it's Sunday, right? You can use the weekday function here, and weekday, if you so the first argument that you pass is the date that you're looking at, which is over here, and the second argument it defaults to 0. If it's 0, means that the weekday function will look at Sunday as the first day instead of Sunday as the 7th day. Okay, so if I pass in weekday and the second argument is 1, that means it's Monday will be 1 and Sunday will be 7. Okay, so this means if F3 is on a Sunday, it will show as inappropriate. Okay, because we don't deliver on Sundays. Then we're going to check if it's not a Sunday, whether it is a Saturday. Okay, so if it's a Saturday, and if the hours, the delivery time, target delivery time, is out of these hours, so less than 9 a.m. or more than 1 p.m., we want it to show as inappropriate. Okay, and if it's not inappropriate here, not inappropriate here, we want to check whether so it's definitely a Monday to Friday, right? So we want to check whether the timings actually fall within 9 to 5 p.m. So if the timing is less than 9, or if it's more than 5 p.m., we want it to show as inappropriate. And if it's not, then we can finally say that it's appropriate. Okay. If you're confused over what these dollar signs mean, it just means that it's an absolute cell reference. The link is in the description below for you to find out more information about it. But yeah, basically it allows us to pull down the formula without changing the reference per se. Some of you might be wondering why the formula bar became so big. You can just close or open the formula bar here, and why I've made it so big for this is to see the 3 lines in the formula. The number of lines doesn't affect how the formula works, it's just for easy reading for the user, and you can add a new line by using alternate enter. In this lesson, we learned how to use countifs, if, and or. In the next lesson, we'll learn how to use the index and match functions, which is an even better version of VLOOKUP.